The Martian Chronicles by Ray Bradbury. So this is episode 75 of this ongoing series I'm doing where I'm reading through 140 books. It was the first book I finished in 2025, and what a way to start off the year. Bradbury was one of the first authors I read from the Golden Age or right after the Golden Age. And, I had read some stuff from the 80s, like Ender's Game and some things like that. But I had a friend that got me into reading Ray Bradbury, and I fell in love with his writing. He a lot of times has this blend of science fiction and fantasy and horror. And I would say that there is a little bit of all of that in here, but it definitely, in this one, it leans a little bit more into the science fiction side of things. And I have this copy. This is a Bantam Pathfinder edition. It's like the 41st printing of this one. It's the closest thing I have to a vintage paperback. As far as I know, this book has never went out of print. I also have this trade paperback, and this was the copy I read. It included an introduction by Ray Bradbury himself, which was interesting to read. And then I also have this hardback reprint, and this is from Doubleday. This has the original artwork that was on the first edition, first printing that came out in 1950. We also get a picture of our man Ray Bradbury on the back there in his younger years. And this had an introduction by Kim Stanley Robinson, which was real interesting. Just talking about Bradbury in general, what was going on when he wrote the book, and then all the influence he's had on the genre. And this is a fix-up novel. This even though it was published in 1950 as a novel, he had written some short stories prior to that, and he took those, kind of rewrote those a bit, added some novel or some short stories in between to try to link them up together. And it did feel like a novel overall. Some of these fix-up novels didn't do such a great job of really feeling like a novel. But this one does a pretty good job. There's people and events that happen in the beginning that are carried on through all the way to the end, where our new characters are kind of talking about these events and these characters. And so overall, there's this kind of overall plot and story being told, but there's a few shorter stories in between that feel a little bit disconnected to the plot, but they're still giving you some kind of context to the story and the setting and all of that kind of stuff. So let's just kind of get into what this one's about. So 1950, we still weren't sure if there was life on Mars. And there was a lot of stories being written, these planetary romances where there was life on some of the other planets, there was intelligent life, there was breathable atmospheres, all of this was going on. And this is a story that's in that same vein. Now, Ray Bradbury's Martians, they have telepathy and they have some really unique abilities, and that plays into it. And then we have humans coming up to the planet, and they can basically walk around and breathe the air like it's Earth. So that's kind of the context of this storytelling that was very similar to other stories in its time. But overall, this is a story about the rise and fall and rise of civilizations, both human and Martian, on planet Earth and planet Mars. And there's a lot of warning signs that Ray Bradbury is throwing out in this one. There's a lot of social commentary about humanity and what our impact is on other cultures, on other living things, on other planets. This was written right at the end of World War II, so there was some of this nuclear threat being warned about in this one. But there's also a lot of still relevant topics like our impact on the environments and other cultures and things like that as well. So it has this fun story to it, but there's I think the main point of this is this warning that Ray Bradbury is giving in this one. And I think that's one of the reasons that this one has stayed so relevant, stayed in print. It's a classic. I think pretty much everybody that's into science fiction has probably either read this or will come up to this someday, and you definitely got to give this one a read. It is still poignant to this day. His writing is so good. It's his probably most popular novel, and if you haven't checked it out, you should definitely check it out. If it's been a while since you read it, it might be time for a reread. So that's all I got for that one. Next up, I'm reading Bug Jack Barron by Norman Spinrad. And I'm doing a buddy read with Jake over at Pulp Mortem on this one. And then I'm going to have him on the channel and we're going to discuss this one. So just stay tuned for that video coming out next. And once again, thanks for watching.